Let me go back here. See, I saw something here that I wanted to show you. We have just a little bit of time here. This is from the Renegade Tribune, which I usually stay away from because I know it's not, not good. But whatever. They do have some articles sometimes. So this word dybbuk, the Hebrew meaning of the word COVID. So this is from the author. After reading the title for this article, I don't think there is much else to add. Since the original source from all of this information comes from a long article, I have added just a few paragraphs for the sake of keeping things as short and concise as possible. However, I highly recommend reading the entire transcript entitled On the Occult Meaning of the Term COVID, a Succinct Incursion into Pattern Recognition. What you're going to find, folks, is when I did the thing on the movie Omicron, it's right on the money. Wait till you see what it says here. Dolly the sheep and the COVID disease. So you remember that Dolly the sheep, he says here, my attention was first drawn to the Dolly story because of the first cloning of an animal was performed in a small Scottish village of Rosslyn, famous, of course, for the Rosslyn Chapel, which is everything to do with secret societies. I could not accept as mere coincidence the fact that this first cloning did not take place in the high-tech laboratories of North America, Germany, Switzerland, or Japan, but in a minuscule village important only for its cryptic symbolism. Not only that, but the Roslin Institute, where the cloning was performed, was established precisely for this purpose. Why is the first animal cloning important? Because for the first time, man could claim that he created an animal by himself, thus equaling Yahweh's work, man becoming God again. See, the scientists, you see? See? The religion of science, the promise from the devil that man could become God. So, white coat religion. See, the animal the man could claim that he created an animal by himself, thus equaling God's work, an event of huge importance in the alchemical process. Choosing the location at Roslyn could not have been the single synchronicity associated with the event as important as the creation of the first animal by man. Taking Hoffman's advice for identifying ritual workings, I started researching for other coincidences that have meaning. It turned out that in the case of Dolly, then I knew it because Dolly is a name for an evil being. But let's see what he says it is. So he says the name Dolly also has a hidden meaning. According to the official version published by the Roslin Institute, the name was chosen because Dolly's DNA came from a mammary gland cell. She was named after the country singer Dolly Parton. But there's also something else to do with Dolly. However, transcribed into Hebrew and read accordingly from right to left, Dolly becomes Lod, Y-L-O-D. That shouldn't mean anything, right? Except that that word has a very appropriate meaning. It means newborn or infant. So the Hebrew pronunciation of this is Yilud. O and U being represented through the same Hebrew letter. I am not aware of anybody mentioning this version before. The official Dolly Parton version is nothing but a mockery of the public's ignorance, trickery and mockery being NEC plus ultra of secret societies, of course, to do with the Roslyn Chapel, like I told you. Of course, the selection of a sheep as the first animal to be cloned has not been accidental either. Worth mentioning is also the date chosen for the first public announcing of the cloning, February 22nd, 222, 1997. Why a Hebrew name for the sheep? Because the Hebrew is the language of the Kabbalah, according to Albert Pike, the preeminent philosopher of Freemasonry. Kabbalah is at the center of all secret society symbolism. We've read that before. Now to coronavirus. First of all, we have the name for the disease, COVID-19. I'll spell it COVID-19. Remember I told you that adds up to 9, and 9 is 18. 666. It does. You say 1 times 9 is 9, so that becomes 9, right? But COVID adds up 3 plus 15 plus 22 plus 9 plus 4. You add it up for yourself and check it out. I've done it for you before. Under agreed guidelines between WHO and the World Organization for Animal Health and Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, we had to find a name that did not refer to a geographical location, an animal, an individual, or group of people, and which is also pronounceable and related to the disease. Having a name matters to prevent the use of other names that can be inaccurate or stigmatizing. It also gives us a standard format to use for any future coronavirus outbreaks. So, COVID-19 is supposed to be an acronym coming from coronavirus disease, and the year it was first registered, 2019. However, what happens if we investigate COVID according to the above-mentioned Dolly-Laud algorithm? Chances are that the inverted Hebrew letters would not return anything meaningful, right? After all, Dolly could have been only a bizarre coincidence. Well, coincidence or not, according to the same rule, COVID becomes dybbuk. That's backwards, right? COVID backwards, dybbuk. Transcribed as this word in Hebrew, and it actually means something. Listen, it means possession by an evil spirit. What did I show you in the movie Omicron? So in other words, this injection is to put an evil spirit in you. Remember on my site, Vaccines That Spiritually Kill, the article? See that now? So you see that that's COVID backwards, right? And in Hebrew, it actually means something. It means possession by an evil spirit. The word is transcribed into English as dybbuk, B and V being represented through the same Hebrew character, bet. To better understand what a dybbuk is, we will submit to no less of an authority as Professor Yoram Bilu, Professor of Sociology and Anthropology at the Hebrew University at Jerusalem, and a recipient of the prestigious Israel Award of 2013. The term, this is a quote, the term dybbuk, or dybbuk, was used in Jewish mystical circles to designate a spirit of a dead person, a notorious sinner in his lifetime that took temporary possession of a human being. Just like in Omicron, right? Omicron is a demon. Yeah, they called it an alien from another planet, but you know what I'm talking about. That's a demon. So again, this term, dybbuk, was used in Jewish mystical circles to designate a spirit of a dead person, a notorious sinner in his lifetime that took temporary possession of a human being. Dybbuk possession was always conceived as an affliction or an illness, and the possessing agent a foreign dangerous intruder that had to be expelled. How was it expelled in the movie Omicron? It was expelled because we had a conscience. Remember, they couldn't live in somebody with a conscience? That's why they're trying to kill our consciences, right? The exorcist was always a revered rabbi who confronted the spirit with various religiously informed measures used in a fixed graded order. Quoting renowned Kabbalist Gershom Scholem's works, Bilu points out that dybbuks, demons, or evil souls possess some unhappy or mentally sick creature. Hello? Dybbuks seem to target mostly women and children, and emotional intensification or arousal are prerequisites for such demonic possession. Now, let me connect some dots right there. I didn't know that was there. They want to vaccinate all the children, don't they? And they want to vaccinate the women. They've got them all fearful. And they're vaccinating the pregnant women so that if they live, both the child and the woman will have the possession. Is this starting to make sense to you? Dybbuk possession left the victim as a passive object, temporarily bereft or self-awareness, without self-control, vis-a-vis two external authorities, the possessing spirit who deprived the possessed of her individual identity, and the rabbi exorcist who compelled the spirit to leave. Dybbuks are recurrent motives in Jewish folklore as well as in art, movies, and theater plays. The synchronicities between the dybbuk and the COVID-producing virus are not limited to name only. Dybbuk comes from the Hebrew verb dybbuk, which translates as to adhere or to cling. Similar to the way dybbuk takes over the victim's body, the coronavirus clings to a host cell and takes over control. Meshing with the DNA, right? Destroying the DNA, impregnating the DNA, corrupting the DNA. What is the purpose of these people that are spiritually dead from the womb? It's to corrupt man and corrupt him utterly. The virus's protein spikes attached to a protein on the surface of the cell called ACE2. Normally, ACE2 plays a role in regulating blood pressure. But when the coronavirus binds to it, it sets off chemical changes that effectively fuse the membranes around the cell and the virus together, allowing the virus's RNA to enter the cell. The virus then hijacks the host cell's protein, making machinery to translate its RNA into new copies of the virus. And you can see that if it attaches itself to the ACE2 that plays a role in regulating blood pressure, now you're seeing why all these people are having heart attacks and dying, or just having heart attacks. Huh? Myocarditis, etc., etc. Just connecting dots. Maybe the analogies in the name and action between COVID and dybbuk are just coincidences or a benign wordplay. Maybe. But maybe they are an indication that the disease is a major step in the alchemical processing of humanity, an event of foremost importance, just like Trinity and Dolly. See, I believe Dolly in some movies or whatever was a possessed doll or a possessed spirit or something. I do remember this. So you can read the rest of this if you want, but I think that about connects all the dots I need to connect, because that's exactly what happened in Omicron. And you see, they've killed a lot of people's consciences. They've seared the consciences of these people, our people, many of them. And so when you demon-possess women and children, that means the future generation of children are going to be more screwed up than they are even now, which they're real screwed up now. But then that means that man will not be able to, not humanity, but mankind will not be able to continue as it is, because it would effectually destroy the race. See? At the end of the Rabbit Hole radio show, I usually give a good piece of advice, and that is, don't get inoculated.